Chelsea's Reece James, again, in danger now of being out for more than a little time. Another hamstring injury. It will be James's 5th hamstring injury in 2 years. When does it get to the point of we've got a problem here?
It kind of does, Jim. I know that you're looking at the bulletin there of injuries, and but it does feel a little bit early with the player. I mean, he is in a great situation the club is at in terms of the medical science they've got. It was a knee injury that kept him out of the World Cup. Then he came back. It's quite normal sometimes to get that imbalance and get hamstring injuries. And it was really in the very first game. I think we should watch closely just to see. I think he'll be okay. I think it's just him coming to terms with the rigours again of top-level football. And it happened in the last 5 or 10 minutes, Jim. That's when a hamstring is going to happen. But he's got the best medical care there. And it's concerning, but I don't think we should overly be worried about it at the moment. And a player needs to be clear in his mind that, yeah, he's a young man. He can get over this. There's been players in the past, Jim. We had a Ryan Giggs situation, didn't we, for years where he had problems with his hamstrings, and then he played, till he was 41 years of age. So you can overcome these things.
No, that's a good point. But on Reece James, people have been saying, wonderful, Reece James, fantastic career he's got ahead of him. And more recently, he was given the armband at Chelsea, and that was hugely celebrated. Out he comes for the Liverpool game. Reece James, close-up of Reece James, armband with a mascot. Now he's out. And it can change like a switch. It
can, and the hamstring injury, and this is the thing about professional footballers. I know people sit with envy very often about what the money they make, and you never know what's around the corner for a player. And that worry that always sits in the back of your mind that you're going to be health free and you're going to not have the injuries that are going to stop you playing.
Yeah.
And Reece James needs to he needs to be reliable in his performance and availability, and that's not happening right now. So he'll be concerned.
I would have thought so. I mean,
it's a good job that players can earn in 1 year what most people earn in 20 lifetimes.
They can now.
Isn't it?
They can now.
Whilst we're having this moment to play that small violin, but the bottom line is that the challenge for Reece Williams is a very good player, and they need to find Reece James, yes, sorry, is the I always call him Reece Williams. I don't know why. I must have had a player. I think I had a young player at Palace called Reece Williams, so that's why I consistently.
Not Andy Johnson.
Not Andy Johnson. No,
Reece Williams.
I'll try and shoe Andrew Johnson into this particular conversation. Well, please,
you will.
But I think there has to be some real look at the structure of this boy and what they're doing with him, and some real science behind it. Yeah. You know, Dougie Freedman, when he played for me, had a challenge where he had problems with his hamstrings because of the component, because of the structure of his body, and they looked at it very carefully to try and work out what was happening with his calves, what was happening with his hamstrings, and I'm sure there's sophistication behind it.
Yeah.
But this young man is a talent, and they're losing far too much game time from him and for him as a result of these seemingly endless
for him, isn't it?
Because
you
not
never
great,
know when it's going to strike.
Well, it's just that he's going from there to there, man. Last weekend, first game of the season, here he comes. Reece James, the new captain. Here he comes, leading out Chelsea. Boom, gone.
Maybe just needs to be a little bit cleverer, Jim. Sometimes you just need to just come down a little bit from that maximum performance,
you
know?
Yeah, sure.
But, when the fullback someone's running at you, it's difficult, of course, but he's flying forward 1 minute and back the next. But I do feel that the system that they played with the wing-backs, Chilwell on the other side, was really suiting Chelsea, and I was really impressed.
Yeah. Martin, somebody else who had his own injury issues down the years was Theo Walcott, undoubtedly. Now we hear this morning that he is set. If he hasn't done it already, is it confirmed? It is confirmed. It's now confirmed. He has announced his retirement from football at the tender age of 34. Now he exploded on the scene, as we all remember. He spent the majority of his career at Arsenal, though, after joining the club in 2006, age 16, from Southampton. 3 FA Cups he won alongside 2 Community Shields. But, I mean, this was a fella who has had to face up to a lot of challenges, not least in the injury front.
I was there, Jim, the day that he arrived. I'd been brought back into the club by Arsene Wenger in that season, 2006. And a good friend of mine in the game called me, said that he was arriving there. Would I sort of help bed him in? And Jim, when I watched him to begin with, this kid had everything. He was a Rolls Royce. Pace that he had. He had, though, arrived at the football club with issues with his collarbone. I think eventually he had surgery. I went to a World Cup, let's not forget, before he even kicked a ball for Arsenal, which was almost unbelievable. And he probably would have felt that he could have achieved more, because he threatened to be a really top player to take over from Thierry Henry. Spent most of his time playing in a wide position. He still achieved a lot, though, Jim, and I would have thought really that he'd have carried on a bit longer. 34 years of age.
Yeah.
Maybe he's fallen out of love with the game. I think the back end of last season, you could see signs again that he was playing regularly for Southampton and doing it again. Scored that goal, of course, against Arsenal, didn't he? Which pretty well put paid for them winning the league. So, yeah, I think he's had a decent career. I think he probably felt he could have achieved more, but he still had an outstanding career.
I mean, as you say, he was called up to the World Cup. Was it Ericsson? He was called up to the World Cup age 16.
Yeah.
Do you think that did a bit more damage than good?
I don't know. I think he is all the things that Martin suggests, and maybe there was a necessity for there to be a little bit more edge in his game and a little bit more determination at certain times. Because
he took a bad ACL, didn't he, at one stage of his career?
I think he's a very nice boy. I think he's a very nice young man, and sometimes you need a little bit of an edge to be a top footballer, because he certainly had all the attributes. He got himself to the top table. You know, obviously for a period of time, there were periods of time at Arsenal where he was, you know, matching the billing.
Yeah.
And I think the Everton transfer was a waste of time for Everton in terms of what they bought against what they got.
Yeah.
He's gone home to Southampton.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be that slight bounce effect, isn't there? He's coming home and he's an all-conquering hero. But I don't think it's been an unprecedented success there. But at 34 years of age, I think he'll look back on his career. He'll say, I've made a remarkable amount of money out of football. I had some remarkable experiences. I played for a remarkable football club in Arsenal. I played a decent amount of times in the international framework. I think personally, with no implied criticism, that there was more talent there than the outcomes gave. So I think he could have done more. Now, I don't necessarily suggest that he sits there pondering like Socrates over what happened to him in the past and how he could have done better. But I do think there was more of a player than we got to see. And it may well be Martin's
I think for most players,
injury.
when they finish, you always feel you could have achieved more. I think most players probably feel that way. You know, he may be happy with his lot, but it's certainly one of the best talents I've seen.
Yeah, for sure.
As a 16-year-old,
and a thoroughly nice guy, as Simon said. You're an absolute gem, and it just goes to show you can be really nice and successful too, can't you, Simon?
Indeed.
Jim White and Simon Jordan, Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.